Imagine being locked out of your own future, not because of your abilities, but because of society's design.
That's the reality for millions of people with disabilities who are forced to navigate a world that continues to ignore their existence.
1.3 billion people, or 1 in 6 globally, live with a disability. Yet, most cities, schools, and workplaces are built as if they don't exist at all.
But what if that could change?
It can. There's a common misconception that people with disabilities are unable or unwilling to work, but in fact, it is quite the opposite. ABS, or Australian Bureau of Statistics, defines underemployed as individuals working, but not to their fullest potential.
In 2018, 10% of people employed aged 15 to 64 with disabilities were considered underemployed. A large factor for this outcome is the subconscious, ableist assumptions cemented into our society.
Now, don't get us wrong. We're not saying you're a bad person for thinking this, because how could you possibly build upon a knowledge you don't know exists? Therefore, our current lack of infrastructure and knowledge can't be faulted, but it can be fixed. For our future generations, we need to attack this from the starting point and start awareness from the most pivotal point in our brains.
As Madison Tevlin, a 23-year-old woman with Down syndrome, powerfully said, "Assume that I can." Our idea is to incorporate disability awareness into the education system through the employment of people with disabilities. This creates exposure. It challenges the stigma and reframes the narrative from what can't they do to what can they do. When we normalize inclusion early, we prevent exclusion later.
To reduce disability poverty, we must build accessible by default, not retroactively. According to the Discrimination Disability Act, 1992 Australia, it is illegal under the law to discriminate against hiring someone due to a disability. Yet, workplaces get away with this every day.
Although they are not directly discriminating against people with disabilities by rejecting employment opportunities, workplaces provide a lack of infrastructure which reflects a failure to create an inclusive environment which would encourage participation and engagement.
To illustrate this circumstance, Courtney Free, a law firm intern. Her resume and application were the best they had ever seen, yet she couldn't secure her employment through a job interview because she could not enter the building. They didn't have a ramp, and Courtney is a wheelchair user. It wasn't her resume that kept her out, it was the doorway.
Stories like this present exactly why we must build our society proactively, to provide for those who deserve it the opportunity to contribute back to our community. And accessibility should not be limited to the occasional lift or ramp, especially when they're often out of service. It should be intentional, comprehensive, and universal.
Building accessible by default benefits everyone, not just those with a disability. By investing in accessible infrastructure, inclusive education, and disability-forward policies, we open the door, figuratively and literally, to opportunity, independence, and dignity for millions.
And accessibility should go beyond physical accommodation. This means integrating screen readers, captioned videos, Auslan interpretation, and accessible digital platforms.
These should be widely available and publicly funded, with cost barriers removed to ensure equal access for all. Technology that provides independence and productivity isn't a luxury, it's a right.
And disability awareness should include flexible work hours, remote work options, and specialised support workers who can assist in integrating into professional environments. And inclusive-based hiring policies should be backed by real incentives for employers and strengthened through education, teaching students the importance of empathy and accessibility from a young age.
A society that builds for all abilities is a stronger, fairer, and more innovative one. By investing in accessible infrastructure, inclusive education, and disability-forward policies, we open the door, figuratively and literally, to opportunity, independence, and dignity for millions.
Through inclusive policies, intentional design, and innovative technology, we can transform our community to become a place that everyone can access, belong, and participate in.
So, the question isn't whether we should build a more inclusive world, it's when.
And the answer must be now. Thank you.